Looks like it is on. What's happening, everybody? Hope everybody's on a fantastic jump to your week. It's a Monday, everybody's favorite day. So, I didn't do any filming this weekend. Took the car to the drag strip, had a ball with it. Houston Raceway Park track prep's been pretty much on point. Doc Divson, what's up, Doc? With their track prep. As a matter of fact, can't really complain one iota, considering how many street cars have been showing up, basically tearing the track completely apart. But that being said, they were able to keep up with it pretty well. And in normal real-time form, the car went in more 1020s, some 1030s, but for the most part, she was going 20s in positive DA. Multiple Mopars finally made it to the party. What's up, man? Which brings me to my point. Okay, so quite a few of you guys have asked me what's next on the, hey, day cab's in, got the arm flex, I like it. What's up, man? What's next for the car? And I kind of have already realized a goal with it. I never thought that this car would run 1020 anything unless it just had obscene DA. And the good thing is that, Shawnee's in, what's up, man? The good thing is that I had been leading up to basically about a week ago, been able to get the car to run a number with really nothing more done to the car than a gear, 309 gear, the drag pack, rear seat delete, Mopar's red-eye drive shaft. Thank you very much, my buddy. But that was basically it. I had done some transmission tuning and basically didn't really do a whole lot with it aside from that, the tune. I mean, it was there to just extend the shift point, and that was about it. Decided to throw just a little bit of timing at it, threw a little bit of fuel on it, and picked up a little bit of mile an hour on the back half of the track. And, well, now she's running consistent 133 and a half, 134. Every once in a while, it'll tickle that 134. But basically, somewhere around 133 is the new number as opposed to 130, 131. And the car's running pretty consistent 1020s at about 100 to 200 foot DAs. Now, you got to remember that's Houston, Texas density altitude, right? So, your results may vary, but that's why I'm always throwing out the DA information. It's running these kind of numbers in basically flat density altitude, and that was kind of the final goal for the car. I wanted to pull a 20 out of this thing just at zero altitude, plus 100, plus 200. I wanted a positive DA and went out and did it. And in fact, it went back-to-back 20s last Friday and was running low 30s. I mean, almost a 20. Just wanted to see that one, the number 2 number that I was looking for. So, yeah, that's where the car's sitting right now. And it's making it really difficult to want to throw a lot more stuff at it because, I'm at that go big or go home stage with the car right now, if you think about it, because, quite frankly, think of it like this. If I threw a pulley on the car, that would mean pulley injectors, and I would probably flip and go with a different fuel at that point, probably switch it to E85, mainly because I'd want to keep it a little bit safe. Fuel quality can meander quite a bit. To that point, E85 can meander quite a bit, but I would probably go double pulley, go either Innovators West lower with a 275 upper, ATI lower with a 275 upper, and put it on E85 and basically go from running 1020s to 940s, 950s. But that would really take away from the mission statement of the car. It's a lot more fun to do this on stock boost, I guess is the long way to get to it, kind of going around my ass to get to my elbow here. I'm going to leave it stock boost. I'm going to leave the car the way it is. I'm having way too much fun running the car the way that it is. And, to be quite honest, I'm running freaking straight 93 in it. No boosting, no race gas, no nothing. The goal was to get the car into the 20s at 0 to 1 or 200 foot DA. We're kind of there. And if I feel like I want to be a little bit safe, I guess I could throw a gallon or two of race gas in the thing, basically 260 GT, the 100 octane, and really be safe with it. So anyway, that's to answer that question for you guys. I've had quite a few guys ask me that question, and what's next for the car? Is that number a record? I don't know. It might be some micro record or something like that, but really, like I say, I'm having too much fun with it. It's on 93 octane. It's super safe. Knock sensor voltage it looks like stock. It's not a big deal at all. As a matter of fact, the way I've got the car tuned is probably a little bit safer than stock. So there's at least that to consider. So the car's doing great, getting down the track like a little banshee. And the car, so to give you guys an idea of a pretty typical pass with this car, reaction time, of course, is just, infallible. Actually, my reaction time's been kind of lousy because I've been shooting for times lately, but you're looking at 151-ish, 60 foots, like a mid 151 on route to these 1020 passes. These are high 1020s, but hey, they're still 1020. So 151, maybe a 150 in these conditions. Eighth mile, I think, are 650, 660s at about 107 miles an hour. And then out the back door at 1020s at, 133, high 132s for sure, miles per hour. So it's been hovering in that 133 range quite a bit lately. So anyway, that'll tell you kind of a tail of the tape of the car. Let me get to some of the questions. I know we got some, and I haven't had a chance. I've been running my mouth a little bit too much. So let me check in with you guys real quick. Mopar saying you're very welcome. Thank you again, my friend. It really means a lot. Appreciate that, buddy. Shawnee saying not too far from a 1019. Yeah, so close, but so far away, right? Santa Jackson's coming in saying, Mason, I saw a Hellcat run against a 392 on the street, and they were about even, and the Hellcat almost lost control. It made me wonder if I really want to will tires fix that? Yeah, tires will fix that, number one. Number two, there's a drive mod in there for sure. Hellcat's a little bit different cat. So let me put it to you a different way. I used to go sniping after Hellcats with my 392. All right, on the street, 392 is very difficult to jack with from a dig, especially if you're running that thing on a drag radial. In fact, I'm doing good with my Hellcat to just, a lot of times guys get a little bit overzealous with the Hellcats and they overdrive them. They think that more is better. They're not as smooth as you need to be on the street, or really in any situation where traction could be possibly limited with these things. And they're just a little bit tougher to get to launch. Now, once they get rolling, it's a completely different story. But it's tough to justify on the street a Hellcat, but they are a riot at the drag strip, to say the least. Now, all that being said, no, I wouldn't change or trade my Hellcat for a 392 for the street. Hell, if anything, I might build a really pissed off 5.7 combination and just go sniping after everybody. So it depends on really what you're in the mood for. But 392 on a tire with just a tune, not a very, you don't ever get real aggressive with the engine tune on 392s, just more transmission tuning than anything else. Get that thing out, send it, and have a ball, and make those Hellcat owners wonder what the hell just happened. Shawnee, 134 ear track is a really nice number. Yes, sir, it is. Thank you very much. I only did it once, but it's been 133 and a half, 133.78. I think it was 133.20 something, I think was in there maybe. And a lot of high 132. So in that DA, it's kind of, trending in that 133 range. Normal man, what's your 60 foot? Again, 152s-ish, kind of the norm in hot weather. 150 in really good weather, and then 149 in just unbelievable weather. Alex is asking also, what's the best 275 summer tire for the 392? I like the Pirellis. I know a lot of people kind of shit on that one, but I actually like them quite a bit. Nitto Tri-5s are a good one too. Oh no, Mopar saying the Viper and the Mustang are both broke, and Viper ate a rear diff, GT500 killed the trans. Sorry to hear that, bro. So keep your phone on you tomorrow, bro. I'll be calling you early in the morning. What'd you do to my Viper, man? You broke. You know how many hard line? We got to talk. How'd you break the Viper, man? I gotta know. I gotta know. I gotta know. I'm gonna be calling you tomorrow, man. I swear. Busted. Wait a minute. Broke a diff? Anyway, I'm gonna be calling you tomorrow, bro. I gotta hear all about that. But the GT500 killed the trans. Again, I will be calling you. Damn it. Dr. Div saying, if I could hook you up with a set of IFC 1300s for a good price, we ordered them for the Hellcat that got the Tomcat cam. Yeah, I'm keeping mine right where she's at. Mopar saying, congratulations on those killer times. Thank you very much, my brother. I appreciate that. Dr. Div saying, go big or go home. Toxic Hellcats chiming in saying, how is it possible for a stock Hellcat with a drag pack to pull 134 trap speeds when most only trap 126, 128? A lot of it has to do with the gear, my friend. That 309 gear really helps you drag mile an hour out of these things on the big end. The other is the shift points that I've got the car set to. Not very high, mind you. They're just a scotch over stock, but that's just all that it needs. And what I'm doing is I'm not worried about how far it revs. I'm more concerned with where it falls, and that torque curve when it falls, that's what I'm trying to capture. A lot of guys try to rev these things too high. It's absolutely not worth it because you're dragging the car out of its torque curve with trying to spin them that high. So anyway, I've got a transmission protocol that works pretty good for these cars with the way that mine sits right now. And at least it's proven itself so far to work pretty well. And that's how it's trapping those kind of numbers. But 309 gear, my trans tune, just a little of fuel on the big end. Really just a teeny bit of timing, really more to just blend. It's more of an interpolation of the timing table. But in reverse, if you want to think of that way. Mopars know exactly what I'm talking about. Actually, I'm just capturing timing that it's dumping and throwing some fuel at it. That's it. 93 octane, Bucky's gasoline and Exxon gasoline. There's your formula. There's nothing to it, bro. Sorry. And I've got, I'm here in Houston. So we've got, when it's good, the air is the best down here, but it's tough to capture that air as well. Shawnee's saying, what would it take for you to get a stock boost record? A lot of weight reduction? Probably. And the other thing too is, what record are we even going for? Stock boost record is like a 986, 989 or something like that. I'm pretty sure it's a 988 something, but that is a bunch of weight reduction, a very aggressive tune on E85. So there's that for you. At least the last time I checked. It could be different, or somebody could have, I don't know, thrown some other, micro portion of a record in there. But yeah, basically that's where you're at. You're at somewhere around like a 980 or something like that is the record. And I'm just not going to disassemble my car to get it to that point. I've seen what that looks like, and I've seen what that record chasing can do to the mentality of the car owner themselves. I mean, I got a firsthand glimpse of that at, Legion of Demons, and it was kind of a sad thing. I mean, these guys had taken a really nice car, had gutted it to the point of unrecognizability. And in this car's case, I would have to do all of that to it. Aluminum front and rear bumper supports. Got to remember, I'm still running the stock bumper supports front and rear. Pull the seat and throw a boatload of timing at it on E85. It probably would have to run Ignite E85 or E90. And even then, that's a little bit of a stretch because at only 11 pounds of boost, I mean, you'll realize some gains, but really E85 comes into its own when the boost number really starts to climb high. So yeah, I could probably get away with a pretty aggressive tune on, say, GT or GT Plus, MS 109, something like that. and not have to worry about a fuel system. But I don't know if I'd be able to throw the timing at it that I would want to throw at it versus the 85. So that's what it would take to cover the number. It wouldn't be that hard to do at all. But I'm just not in the mood to do a Johnny Cash song reinterpretation on my car and reverse one piece at a time. Just to flag wave something, the car would never be driven in that condition. And besides, I use this car for a lot more than just going down the drag strip, man. I mean, I'll take this thing on road trips all the time, and it is a freaking awesome grand touring contraption. So anyway, that's a long way to answer that question. Let me keep going on here. Hogan's in the house saying, Alex, go with Firestone Firehawk Indy 500 is another good tire too. They're great in rain as well. Norman, what is your current weight reduction? It's pretty easy. It is a red eye rear seat delete, also known as the closeout package. I was one of the first people on the planet to get one of those, but it's got a Mopar rear seat delete. I don't ever run the Harman Kardon speaker box in my car. Not really because it's a weight reduction thing. It doesn't sound that great. I mean, it sounds okay, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just used to the way the stereo sounds without the HK box back there. But and that's it. There's your weight reduction. And the car with me in it weighs last Friday weighed 4,440 pounds. So, and that's with about just under half a tank of gas. Is there anything else? I'm literally looking at the car. I mean, aside from, the drag pack. That's obvious though. So, rear seat delete, drag pack, and no HK box in the back. That's it. Let's see. Dr. Div saying 133, that thing is rolling. Yeah, it is. ET Racing saying, hey, Brian, what's up, ET? Dr. Div, pissed off 5.7 for the win. Hell yeah. Yeah, by the way, your dad's car sounds sick, dude. That Joker cam is definitely a good sounding cam and a good performing cam at that. Mopar saying definitely need to chat tomorrow. Yes, we do. Alex is saying, any experience with the Firehawk Indy 500s? They've got good reviews. Not in a long time. But any of the Firestone products are going to be good too. Shawnee's asking, how much longer until you typically start losing the negative DAs? Basically, when does spring start down there? He's saying his first track date is April 4th. We will stop having really good DAs sometime around probably March 1st. Yeah, we might have some decent DAs, but it's never going to be what it was December, January, or February. It's just never going to get there. And to make matters worse, so February for us is like monsoon season. So we might get one or two really pretty Fridays in February, but it's kind of rare. Typically towards the tail end of February, beginning of March, we get a lot of rain. Let's see. ET Racing, you are Mr. Consistent, Sean. Knew a guy back in the day with a 78 AR CUDA 446 pack with a 727, ran 1026 at 127 every run. That might bring me to another point. Something I was looking up the other day for the factory stock muscle car races. Hogan's saying, Alex, I have them on my car, 275, 4020, and they are awesome. Talking about those Firestones. Dollar Power saying, short shift to get back into the torque band. Kind of. Short shifting for sure by what you would have maybe been told about how to rev these cars out in the past. Less is more when it comes to Mopars. I mean, a lot less is more. Just in terms of getting a solid performing package together. I don't like the idea of trying to spin something really high that's got valves that are like as big around as tea saucers. It's hell on valve train, and you start getting into valve control issues once you start really spooling these things up. So that can cause its own series of problems. Anyway, I just took that mentality again, the less is more mentality with my car, and so far it seems to be working pretty well. So that's kind of cool. Let's see. Lone Wolf Customs checking in saying, "Hey, B, what's up, Lone Wolf?" Let's see. Well, Mopar saying, "I'd like to see stock boost pump gas for you." Yeah, that's kind of that's kind of where I'm at with it, But we'll see. We'll see. You never know, man. But the thing is that my thing has always been it's got to be convenient. That's the other side of this. The spirit of the build, or if you want to say the spirit of the project, however you want to look at it. So if you get a chance, so let me kind of bring you to the idea, the philosophy that I was looking for. I forget the governing faction of it, but the FAST, the factory appearing stock tire class for the muscle car guys. There's also a factory stock class for the muscle car guys. What's a muscle car? Well, it's what you think of like the first gen true old school muscle car, 62 Impala, 64, 66 Savoys, the 73, 74 Super Duty TAs, stuff like that. And they've got some pretty cool classes, but those are cars that back in the day, guys would own them. They would take them to the drag strip. They would work on them, tinker on them on the weekends, but they were basically a form of transportation that they would take racing. And that's really more what I'm doing with my car. Something that runs on pump gas. Basically, it's on a tire for weight reduction and for safety. And it's weight reduced only in that it's not gutted. I mean, I'm still running I say all the seats, the passenger seat, if that means anything. I'm not sure it does. But still running the passenger seat, still running the carpet, still running all of that. It is a factory appearing car, and it's got factory parts in it. It's got a factory 309 rear diff. Thanks to multiple Mopars, it's got a factory red-eye drive shaft, which it should have come with from the factory. And it should have been optioned with a 309 from the factory too, but we'll just pass over that. It's got a factory rear seat delete, so it's classy looking in there. It's just a factory setup, and it goes like hell down the drag strip, and it's a lot of fun. That's really more the spirit of what I was looking for. And that's why when people start talking about records and things like that, again, I'm reminded of the FAST class, the factory appearing stock tire, or the factory stock class. Yeah, there's some room in there for finaglings, but even in the factory stock class, they allow even a 1.5 addition of compression. There's some other, 30 or 60 thousandths overbore. I can't remember the exact number. Anyway, it's basically there to accommodate a normal rebuild. That's the same kind of idea that I was going for mine. So for me to go too much further past that, killed that son of a bitch, send it straight back to hell where it came from. Skeeters are out now, by the way. That was really something more what I want that I wanted. And again, it was validated when I went to Mopar Fest and I saw this sea of gorgeous Mopars, as far as the eye could see, only that's got another one too, man. It's 2 for 2. Been working on the jabs, by the way. Anyway, and it just sucks to see him in that condition. So I guess you could say the last thing I want is to go down that path. So anyway, getting back to it. Donald Powers, hello, Mr. Mason. What's up, Donald? The Sloan, did you think the red eye that raced the GT500 had a soft mile per hour? I'm perplexed because my 717 horsepower stock cat has more mile an hour at plus 1500 DA. I checked her DA and it looked to be less than 1,000. Man, I don't know. Well, we've got the record holder for full weight red eye hanging out with us tonight. I don't know. A lot of them will go into cat if it's stock. Many of them will start to go into cat overtemp kind of early. And with those cars, they just start to dump fuel at them. So they could have been going into cat overtemp at the back half of the track. I can tell you that if mine goes into cat overtemp, it will kill about 2 miles an hour, or it has the potential, I should say, depending on how soon it starts feeding fuel into the thing, it can kill about a mile an hour at least. So I don't know. I can't remember, refresh my memory as far as what it ran, but honestly, they're all going to be, from what I've seen anyway, a lot of them are in that 133 to 135 range. And that's just been kind of the consistent mile an hour. And by the way, that's a stock car running stock cats. Oh yeah, that's something else too. Kind of sidebar. I'm still running stock catalytic converters on this car. So there's that to consider as well. Not only is it fast, but it's emissions compliant, like down to the letter. Let's see. Well, Mopar saying, I can't bring myself to tear my cars apart. What defines street car to me is to drive it at full weight. That's what I've tried to push. If it doesn't run the number full weight, then it's not a real street car. And that's kind of the thing. I mean, I did the 100% drop dead full weight with my 392, and that was a lot of fun. I've been doing the drag pack thing with this one mainly because it just makes it easier to launch. But no, I get it. As a matter of fact, the whole gutting of the car, that's the other thing too, is at what point if that's the game that you're going to play, or if one were so inclined, I should say, to play that game, you've got to be willing, if you're going to start taking out seats and things like that, and you're shooting for a record or you're shooting for a specific number, you've got to have the courage of your conviction to really gut your car and get the best number you can out of it, because a little bit of weight reduction is like a half-assed effort. I mean, you really need to start gutting into the thing on the interior side. And by the way, again, to kind of re-illustrate the point, I mean, we're not talking about just seats being out of the car. We're talking seats, the plastic stuff all around the inside of the thing. We're talking door cards. We're talking door speakers. We're talking window motors. We're talking everything you could, if it wasn't like integral to the structure of the car, I'm pretty sure they were going to try to figure out a way to get it out of there. The glove box doors. I mean, everything was removed out of some of these cars. And I'm looking at this. I wasn't embarrassed, but there's some like side adjacent word to describe how I felt to embarrassed. I guess disappointed, disembarrassment. Is that good? Can I make up a name, or can I make up a word here? That's kind of how I felt about that. Just completely bummed out, I guess. That's what it was taking, and that's the level. And again, we're talking about records here. That's what I've seen guys do to their cars. So, does it mean that holding myself to a higher? No, it doesn't mean any of that. Look, you got one of these things, you want to gut it, man. Just go for it. But it's just, I'm just not going to do that. Maybe I'm too lazy. I don't know. X-Cash is coming in and say, hey, B-Mace, I test drove a 2015 SRT 392 with the manual and then a Scat Pack 392 shaker, also manual. And for some reason, the SRT felt more punchy. Does it have a different rear gear or something? Nope. They are all the same, brother. Might have felt a little bit punchier based on what the suspension setting was in, though. Alex is saying, great in rain. Good. I live in Florida. You need something good in rain. Talking about those tires. Speed Freak 93. Hey, B, I'm needing to remove my PCM out of my Hellcat Challenger to have it unlocked. Any tips? Disconnect the battery or what I need to remove to access it? Yes, disconnect your battery. If you can see, actually it's on the other side of the car over there, but you're going to have a piece of plastic right there. That's got to get popped off. Actually, you're going to probably, it's easier if you just remove the brace that's up front. Gets you better access to the computer. Have some Band-Aids available. If your wiring harness was short, you're going to be filleting part of your hand. So just know that coming into it. Have a strong dose of patience, and you will be just fine. Cody's saying, how do I convince my friend that a no-tune required pulley for his red eye is a bad idea? Well, the easiest way you can convince him that it's a bad idea is to let him buy it, run the car, and have him window the block. He will then soon realize on his own that it was a bad idea. And self-reliance, man. You give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, you teach a man to fish. Well, you give him a lifestyle. So, that's the way I would put it. There's no really good way to tell you that it's a bad idea other than to talk to the people that have already done it and that have tried to fool around with it. And look, if you're at altitude, not like 500 feet, 1,000 feet, that's not at altitude. I'm talking, if you're sitting at 2,500 feet and above, yeah, you're probably going to be okay. But if you're not, boom. All right. So getting back to it. Dr. saying, oh yeah, that Joker is the best sounding one we offer. It's rolling. Yeah, that Joker cam. It's an awesome cam. We had a couple of issues to correct before spraying it. He was getting random misfire on 2, 4, 6, and 8. But I think we got it corrected. We are happy with it so far. Very nice. Oh yeah, Mopar saying, need to send you a video of the CUDA laptop tune blower 440 now. Yes, you do. I know, I saw the post, man. I gotta see that thing, man. That's awesome. Sam is saying, yo, B-Mason, what's up, Sam? Shawnee, that new GT500 trap speed is almost unbelievable. They've got a hell of a trap speed, but they've got a very efficient transmission as well. So that's going to help them out a little bit. Not to mention it's making a bunch of power. So, I mean, that helps for sure. Normal man, would a lightweight battery help you? Oh, crap. I forgot. I am running the Archangel battery. It's not really that much of a weight savings. I mean, it's 20 pounds, 25 pounds. I did a video on it. But again, I did that battery more for the capacity than I did really for the weight savings. It would have been obviously more expensive, but it would have been a much greater weight savings to go with a much lighter battery. But that battery works pretty darn well. And the capacity alone helps me run my fans when I'm in the staging lanes. So there's that at least. But yeah, it helps. But I mean, it's a cumulative process really more than anything else. Let's see. Lone Wolf is asking, the driver's seat weighs more than the passenger seat. At least it does on my 06 Charger. Yeah, they're all somewhere around that 60 to 65 pounds. Mine are the Alcantara seats. I think they're the lightest of the seats that aren't cloth. Shawnee's saying, X-Cash, they are the same car, same gear, 390 manual transmission. Oh, he's talking about those. Oh, yeah. Mopar saying he had to hit cat over 10. More than likely. Whenever data log this car, depending on where I set my catalytic converter over temp parameters, I can either just tickle it towards the end of the track or I can stave it off till right at the very end when I'm shutting it down. I don't like letting it get any hotter than that, but if it gets me through a quarter-mile pass, then I'm good and the car cools off, so we're in good shape. Let's see. Sam's talking about doing an LS swap on an old MG B or an MX-5. There's somebody's doing Miata. It's like a version of the old monster Miatas, but they're doing LS motors. It's supposed to be pretty nasty. Let's see. Origin 3 swap. No, you want to do LS on that for sure. Shawnee's saying, what is your best stock time from Shalandra? Shalandra went an 11:30. I'm going to say at 11:39. It might have gone 11:37 is what that car ran. And with a string of 11:40s. A lot of 11:40s. Let's see. Norman saying the heated and cooled passenger seat on my Scat weighs 50 pounds. Yeah, they're heavy. Alex is saying, I'm considering doing a 426 stroker kit as well as a new cam on my 392 worth the NA horsepower gains. What horsepower could I expect from a full bolt-on cam 392 with or without the 426 kit? Man, okay, so there's a lot to unpack with that. So let's start off with the cam. Realistically, just 40 horsepower to the rear wheels. That's about what you're going to shoot for. For a cam that is going to work with your stock intake manifold, it's going to be the best compromise between horsepower, torque, throttle response, and everything else. It is a nightmare putting cams together for Hemis because of the head flow versus RPM restrictions based on intake manifold flow, and the weight of the vehicle is going to dictate a little bit how you have to navigate the peak torque events, things like that. So give Dr. Diff a shout for a cam. And now, what can you expect with a 426? This is where things get just pickled shit stupid. Okay, so first of all, what do you expect to get out of a 426? At least 30 horsepower out of the stroker, right? Somewhere around 40 foot-pounds of torque to the rear wheels, maybe, if you're lucky. And that's if you have to understand too that these numbers are going to be drugged down a little bit. They're going to be drugged down to the tune of, about 3 or 4, maybe about 300 RPM. Not a big deal, but they are going to be drugged down a little bit. The big restriction is the intake manifold. So then what do you do with that? Well, you can go with something like the Edelbrock, and a lot of guys have. To the rear wheels, I've seen as much as, let me think about this for a minute. Let's see, real healthy 392 with a cam. On a Mustang dyno, say 450, 465 to the rear wheels. I'd take that 465 and add just enough to get it to like the 515 range to the rear wheels, horsepower wise, on a Mustang dyno. And at this point in time, by the way, that's a Mustang dyno that was really breaking hearts with the Edelbrock intake manifold. That's what you can expect-ish. But you're going to expect to, pocket up on this build, bro, because we're not talking about a cheap turnaround on this. You're better off getting a long or a short block from Arrington, get a custom grind cam, basically just call up Dr. Diff, put your car on a hauler, have it drugged down to him, have him do the build, tune it, send it back to you, smile all the way down the street. You're not going to be smiling all the way to the bank because it's going to be expensive. But what you're going to need to understand is that outflow of cash is, I'm not sure, going to be really worth it in the long run for you. Unless you're just dying to have that nameplate on the side of your car at 426. I know that kind of is a little bit contrary to what you might think, but if you go with a stout cam package with a set of Stanky tie bars and collars, springs, push rods, a set of Hellcat lifters, that'll take you deep into the 11s, if not into the 10s, depending on the weight of the car. And you'll be in a situation where you would never miss the 426. I'll take that a step farther. If you ever want to know what a 426 powered car feels like, find you a buddy with a Hellcat, put the car in 500 horse mode and go play with it in 500 horse mode. That's exactly what the 426 cars feel like to drive. They're very torquey. They don't really pull that well up top because there's not, at least at the time, wasn't an intake manifold that would support higher RPM on the Hemis. There is now with the Holly. So just, again, salt, grain, take it. But that'll give you a great idea of what the car feels like to drive. They're a lot of fun. They're a mid to low 11-second combination at full weight. So there's that. But don't expect to really set the world on fire with them if the internet has anything to say about what is fast anymore. It doesn't. But you get what I'm talking about. So anyway, not to beat that horse to death. Mopar saying the term "no tune required" makes me sick to my stomach. Man, you ain't lying there, brother. Specifically for anything involving fuel or air, it's a car part aids, in my opinion. Hey, I got a good one for you, man. So we had a guy bring a brand new Zeal 1 to the shop, and that brand new Zeal 1 had a pulley on it and no tune, and it popped a ringland. Yeah. Who talked him into that? Anyway, Sam saying no tune is a no-go for sure. 6'4" Emmy Power saying, I'm considering upgrading to a 19 Hellcat because the dealer is almost giving them away. Or should I go 426, 440? What cost per horsepower would make more sense? Thanks. Would like to trap a $130 plus and be in the 10, by the way. That's all I can say, man. Look what's sitting behind me. The 426 and 440, those are cool. I mean, you might get a little bit of roll on that at the local Cars and Coffee, man. I mean, if you've got the badge on the side of the car that says 426, maybe it means something to somebody. But to be perfectly honest with you, man, your car is a little bit too heavy. If you want to stick with Mopar, the car's a little bit on the heavy side to realistically expect those types of VTs and miles and hours out of it naturally aspirated. Don't get me wrong. You put together a combination that'll do it, but is it going to be drivable? And is it really going to give you the driving experience that you're really looking for? I mean, listen, when you drive a big block, part of the experience, it's not peak horsepower, it's power across the board. It's a complete driving experience that you're looking for. And if you're going for that, Hellcat 309 gear, get the computer unlocked if you want. Trans-tune. You'll be going so deep into the 10s that you're damn near running 9s by some people's estimation. I mean, by a casual's estimation. I mean, keep this in mind. You know how long it takes to blink your eye? Like that. Like that. Blink your eye. That's 0.3 of a second on average. Google it. Look it up. That's 0.3. That's 0.3. I'm within a blink of an eye of running 9s. And I'm on a more or less a stock tune. You're not going to get there with that 426. The other side of that, you're never going to recoup the cost on that thing. The Hellcat will always and forever be a Hellcat. And that means something. A Scat Pack or a SRT with a 426 is a car with a built engine in it. And it's going to be a completely different buying public that is going to be willing to shell out the shekels for that thing when it's time to move on or trade on. Something to consider, man. You got to consider the future of that car and a possible later transaction. Whereas with the Hellcat, still running stock cats. That far away from running a 9 with it. So I would say go with the Hellcat and leave the NA world behind at that point. Shawnee's saying, Alex Andrews, you were right into the Hellcat money with all those mods. Well, there's that too. That's why I traded his Scat. That's why Shawnee went with his Scat Pack, traded it off for a Hellcat as well, and he's very happy with it. Lone Wolf Custom saying, did you see where the Hellcat Miata got wrecked? That was kind of sad. All that go and not enough car to hold it. Yeah, that's something that happen quite a bit. But no, I didn't see where he wrecked it. That's a bummer. Riff saying, hey, y'all. Saying, hey, me, got the arms up. I like it. Johnny saying, 6'4" Emmy Power. Get a Hellcat. You'll never regret it. I'm speaking from experience. That's absolutely right. Let's see. Got some of you guys hanging out. Amber Moody's checking in and saying, what up, B? What up, Amber? Shawnee's saying, I ran 12.2 with my Scat Pack. Now I have a tweaked Hellcat running 10.0s, and it's reliable. Yeah, it is. I'd say it's real reliable considering you made a 2,400 mile round trip with it. 6'4" Emmy Power saying, best time I've ran with my Charger was 1193 at 117. I don't want to get too far off topic, but that does remind me there was so interestingly enough, in the muscle car classes I was talking about before, FAST class, that fast appearing stock tire, basically stock tire size, is kind of an interesting class, but the pure stock is a little bit more interesting, only in that, look at this guy. God, 3 for 3. Send you back to hell too. Only in that you can't run quicker than an 1150 in that class, because they know that if you run quicker than 1150, it's horseshit. In other words, there wasn't anything close to stock happening with that car from back then that would run an 1150, no matter what it was. So anyway, I thought that was kind of a cool class distinction there. Blackbird 98 saying, what up, B? What up, Blackbird? Destroyer Scat Pack saying, I ran a 714 8th with a 75 shot. You should have run a 100 shot. Argossi saying, hey, Brother B, nice to see you. Nice to see you in the house too, man. Got the Z26 brake pads and the performance diff brace on both my cars. Pretty much street and strip up for now, both my TA and Hellcat. Very cool, man. You're going to like those for sure. Riff saying, I'm having a hard time finding a shop that can fix the vibration in my drag pack tires. It only starts vibrating at about the 8th, so about 100 miles an hour. What do you think that could be? Well, do you have an aftermarket drive shaft? Would be the first question that I have. Second of all, it could be that the tire is not exactly round. One of the problems that the drag race stuff has is that it's not really made to some super exacting standards. The wheel could be slightly out of round as well, so I would have that checked out. But those would be the only things I can think of. Shawnee's saying, good idea on the braces. Absolutely it is. Argossi said, I'm not exactly going anywhere soon. I need a boat to get around here. Yeah, for sure. 6'4" Hemi Power saying, thank you, Mason. Not a problem. Thank you. Riff saying, one of my friends had the same and told me to go to the shop. It's like 200 miles from me, and they want to put nitrogen in my tires on top of anything else they do. Well, here's the problem. They want to put nitrogen in your tires. You do realize that the air that you're breathing is 70% nitrogen, right? I wouldn't consider that to be anything that's going to fix the tire. I mean, mine don't have nitrogen. Well, technically they do have nitrogen in them. In fact, 70% of the air in my tires is nitrogen, and I don't have any problem having them balanced. So again, just have them take a look at, make sure that nothing's out of round, basically, is what I would do. Mopar saying, I think an older car with Hellcat / Demon suspension would be killer due to them being lighter, specifically 68 to 73 CUDA Challenger. They are super light. Yeah, they are. In fact, there's a guy down here. He has got a 71 non-frowny face Challenger with a 440 that he races more or less as a bracket car. So if you can imagine bracket car circa 1989. That's basically what you're looking at. And car runs great. It's mid 10-second car and just old school cool kind of a setup. So yeah. In fact, I should have taken pictures of that. I'm an idiot. Should have taken pictures of that thing last Friday. Amber saying, can't wait to see how Rob's 392 runs after you get your hands on it. Got the fist bump. Well, Alex is going to do the primary tune, and then I will polish it up on the transmission side. So, but we're going to have to get that car to the drag strip and get some rips on it. But I'm looking forward to it. That car is going to scream. Everybody that's run that particular cam that he's getting has fallen in love with it. So, I have a feeling that it's going to work the same. His car's set up really for a cam. So, yeah, it should be a really nice setup. Looking forward to it for sure. Blackbird's asking, are there any gains going catless on the Hellcat? No, actually there's not. Weirdly enough, we tried something. We got a group of guys. We've all got Hellcats in varying states of tune. You're going to love this. So I've been running cats in my car exclusively. But a couple of buddies of mine were running catless and were tuned to run catless. When the cats went back on the car, they actually got a little bit quicker. Now people are going to say, oh, back pressure and all this other stuff. It's kind of, sort of, not really. It has to do with cylinder pressure and maintaining cylinder pressure at higher RPM. But the funny thing is that, no, there really wasn't a change. The cars did get a little bit quicker, more to the point they didn't really lose anything. But here's the funny part of that. So one of those guys with his car went with a 285 upper pulley. First pass First pass down the track, car went 980s with the factory cast. Just saying. So, no, they do not offer up any detriment to performance whatsoever. Rich Sam calling PETA. Let's see. Hang on, there we go. Cuda Man saying, are Hellcats reliable? I'm talking as reliable as my 6.1 daily. Yeah, they're actually extremely reliable. More so than your 6.1, or at least every bit as reliable. In fact, I've seen Hellcats with 125, 145,000 miles on them, still running just fine. Guys bought them, drove them around daily, thrash on them here and there, but they just treat them like a transportation appliance. It's a lot of fun to drive, and with just regular maintenance, no issues, no problems. So take that for what it's worth. And they can freaking stand up to a beating too. Rip is saying, one of the Mickey Thompson ET Street R's does look like it has a flat spot in it. I wonder if they would replace it. Check it out. Something to look into for sure. Shawnee's saying the stock automatic Hellcat is a definition of bulletproof. Well, there's that too. I mean, Shawnee, for the track rental, well, I mean, he drove his car basically 2,400 miles round trip. So there's that. Leroy checking in saying, what up from Baytown? Aha, one of my neighbors checking in. What's up, man? Ashley Mills saying, are you guys going to clean some cars on Saturday? Possibly. We'll see. I know y'all are going to have the Lincoln out there. I'm going to be, hopefully I don't miss it. But I am hoping to be there, but we will see. I've got actually kind of a stacked weekend this weekend. Racer X saying, what up, buddy? How's the car running? What up, Racer X? Car's running good. Right now in these conditions, low 1030s, high 1020s. Let's see. Everybody's checking in with Racer X saying, what up, what up? Oh, hang on a second. Shawnee saying, can I be a little nugget for the 1019 fund? 3 weeks left to get air. Good luck. Keep us updated, man. Thank you very much for the contribution to the cause, my friend. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. That's going into the tent fund, by the way. Thanks again, brother. Let's see. Screw Scat Pack saying, I'll run the 100 shot the 23rd. There you go. Racer X, fist bumping multi. Let's see. Argossi saying, I found one gas station, an Orbit gas station in my town with 100% pure gas, 93 octane. Does anybody know of another national gas station that will also have 100% pure gas, 93 octane? Very difficult to find. And when you do, they will typically advertise that they sell 100% pure, no ethanol gasoline. We have a chain here in Texas called Buc-ee's that at some of their stations, they do sell ethanol-free fuel. I believe it is 92 octane. Could be wrong about that, but 92 octane is 9288. It's kind of some wonky numbers. 92, 88, and like 86 or 87 octane, something like that. Anyway, you can get it, but you'll have to find a place that is going to be, they'll actually advertise that that's what they're selling it. So tough to say. Let's see. Ashley saying, we're bringing the Challenger and the big Lincoln. I like it. 69 Mark III. Badass. Let's see. Oh, Destroy Gray saying Racer X is famous. Let's see. Racer X, car's running good, brother. I need to watch out. Nah, you're safe, man. No fuel system, no pulleys, no anything like that for mine, man. Just as Mother Mopar produced her. Let's see. Riff saying the idea of pure gas here in California is a joke. Yeah, no kidding. Used to live in San Francisco, man. Shawnee's saying, Racer, put some nittos on that shaker. Riff's got the frowny face for sure. Let's see. Dr. Div saying, when is the next time you're going to the track? I'll have the boost controller on. Going to test out the AEM Boost controller just because my MSD requires a laptop. How about Texas 2K? Need to do a test and tune. I will be at the drag strip probably on Friday, and that looks to be like the last good clean air that we're going to have. I'm going to try to see what kind of ET I can eke out of this thing. But it's going to be tough. It's probably going to be pretty humid considering the weather that we're having right now. I may just go down there for really more or less just seat time than anything else. I mean, this time of year, I mean, it never hurts to get the seat time. As long as there's cars going down the track, that track will be fine. It's only when that track dies down that, without any continuing prep, it's going to kind of suck. But yeah, I will probably be there Friday, and then I'm going to be taking a break from the track for a little bit after that. Got some other things I need to work on, namely my wife's Camaro. Racer X saying we got Mickey's for the shaker. Very cool. We were saying I just bought some Nitto NT Tri-5Rs for daily tires on my Hellcat. Does anybody know if they're good? I happen to know firsthand that they're awesome. I use the Tri-5s as road trip tires actually, and they're fantastic. I mean, when this thing is in street mode, even though it's street legal the way it sits, but when it's in full on like road trip mode, I run Tri-5Rs. They're great in the rain, handle fine. They're a tire, man. They're just a really good tire. And I'm not going to say that they're going to dead hook on a Hellcat. That's a lie. If anybody ever tells you that, but they hook well enough. And, for the kind of power and the torque that these things are making, they're not too shabby. So if you're thinking about going with a set of Tri-5Rs, I say go for it because they work really well. In fact, I've run Tri-5Rs on pretty much everything I've ever owned. My Lightning, Mustangs, this thing, Shalandra, everything basically is run Tri-5Rs. I love those things. Alex is saying, I guess I'll just stick to a full bolt-on and a cam for now. Maybe in the future I'll upgrade to a Hellcat when I make first lieutenant or captain. Man, I tell you what, don't go nutty with it. Have fun with the car. I'm not saying to not do anything to it. Have some fun with it. Do some fun things with the car. Get a lot of seat time with it. Play with it as much as you can. That will get you very well prepped for when you get into a position where you can put a Hellcat in your garage. It'll absolutely make you appreciate the difference quite a bit. If you do get an opportunity, see if you can sneak one out. I think let's just say it'll motivate your decision at that point. Racer X saying, B, are you going to come up for the big event on March 7th? We will see. It's going to depend on what my travel schedule looks like. I don't know yet. I would like to, but I don't know. Fingers crossed I'll be able to make it, but I can't commit to anything just yet, unfortunately. Ashley Mill is saying, Dragon said my car went 1114 on the street. Ashley, and then she says, ask how much quicker do you think we could go? Man, I don't know. It's going to be tough to say. Depending on, let's see, yours went 1114 on the street. I don't know. You're limited by tire at that point, though, for sure. So I don't know if you would be able to. You're going to have to get some deeper DAs. You could probably maybe take advantage of some deeper DAs and, get down to like the 1080 range. Would be my guess, maybe. Argrassi's asking, anybody going to Challenger Fest in Kentucky this spring? I'm planning on going. I haven't raced in Kentucky in years, man. I loved it up there last time I was there. But I will not be able to make it. I've got way too much going on down here for sure. Racer X saying, I run the 555s for daily driving as well. Love me some Tri-5s. Symphonic saying, 35 grand to spend. Use C6 Z06, C7 Stingray, or new 6th gen Camaro or 6th gen Mustang. If you've got 35 large to drop. Let's break this down real quickly. So I would first advise for the C6 Z06 because it's got a lot of upshot. I would not advise on the C7 Stingray, but if you could find a Grand Sport, I would go that route. That's just personal preference on my end. I just don't like the Stingrays. Frankly, the interior is great. Ergonomically, they're far superior to the C6, but I just don't like the way that they look. New 6th Gen Camaro or 6th Gen Mustang? Let me think about that for a minute. Well, Mustang's got the same amount of upshot that the Vet does. I would probably go Mustang at that point. In fact, I would go Mustang at that point. Ergonomically, far superior, much better visibility. On a tire, I think it's a better looking car. And if you want to go fast, I mean, dude, look no further. Even a mild supercharger upgrade will put that thing well into the tens. So just something to consider when you're looking into it. Now, they're not bomb-proof from the factory. Far from it, as a matter of fact. Very far from it. But with some upgrades, you can get by with a car that runs 1080s, 1050s very reliably and not really have to worry too much about breaking any parts. So that'd be the way that I would look at going with it. Mopar saying 100 wet shot plus the red eye to, oh damn, put the red eye to 1,004 horsepower on the dyno. Ready to get to the track with it. I feel it's super safe. We're using controller and hitting it in third at wide open throttle. That is going to be nasty. Yeah, actually tickled the idea of putting a 100 shot on the Hellcat. But yeah, that would be badass to be able to tickle this thing with a shot. I'm just not there with it yet. So yeah, when we chat tomorrow, I want to find out next time we go to the drag strip. I think they're doing a track rental up there pretty soon, aren't they? I'm going to try to actually make that. But that's badass. Over a thowie to the freaking rear wheels. That is sick to death, bro. Canada guy saying, hey, Brian, just thought I would drop in and say, hey, hope you're having a good night. Thank you very much. Same to you, my friend. Hope all is well with you. Riff saying, I've been putting off installing my unlocked PCM and putting my tune on my Hellcat because of the warranty I have left on the 2015, but I'm going to try it after the show. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That reminds me. We've crossed a threshold with little Miss Revline. She is no longer covered by any of Mother Mopar's warranties, whether it's bumper to bumper or powertrain. She crossed her 5 years of service January the 11th. So cheers to you, sweetie. Don't break. Let's see. Graci's hanging out with Racer X. Riv say, I'm just hoping the Tri-5Rs will be as good as the Mickey Thompson ET Street SS that I had. They're both drag radials. Here's something you're probably going to notice about the Tri-5Rs. They may not hook, I'll put that in quotation marks, as well as the Tri-5R, as well as the SSs. Or at least you'll hear that. It's like an anecdote type thing, really. The Tri-5s don't hook as well on the street, or don't hook as well in general as the SS. Here's one thing I noticed about it. On the street, I couldn't really notice a difference between the two. If there was any real difference between the two, maybe the SS hooked a little bit better, but only when they were cleaned off. They're basically about the same between the two. At the drag strip, the SS was a little bit more of a forgiving tire than the Tri-5R. The Tri-5R leans more towards street use, where the SS leans a little bit more towards track use. I can tell you that the Tri-5R is probably the better tire in the rain. But, just take that with, obviously the proverbial grain of salt. RRC, hope to see some of y'all in Kentucky. If y'all do go, safe travels. Buck Russell saying, I have a 2013 Police Charger 5.7. It took to the dealer to get the window fixed. They factory reset my computer. Now it runs like a dog. Any suggestions? Be interesting to see what they did differently, because those tunes are pretty much rock solid. The only thing I can suggest that you do is just drive it. Make sure you didn't get a bad tank of gas or something like that. But I have heard of folks getting their computers factory reset and it not running that great for a little bit. Might have more to do with when they reset all your adaptives. So it's just going to take a little bit of time. Take the car out and just kind of, lack of a better way of putting it, you have to run it kind of hard. Sometimes that'll wake them up, so to speak. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain, but yeah, that's the only thing I can think of to tell you, brother. Destroyer 1320 saying, the man B Mason, how are you, man? What's going on? I'm doing well. Hope you're having the same. Destroyer Scatback saying, Destroyer 1320. Dr. Div saying, just a question randomly, how much horsepower do you think my truck is making on that 11.1 pass at 123 at the rental? I would say probably somewhere in the 780 horsepower to 800 horsepower-ish range at the flywheel would be my guess, based on the 11.1 and the 123 miles per hour, and basically about a 5,400 pound truck in race trim. Argossy's saying the Tri-5Rs are a very aggressive, good-looking tire also. Yeah, they are a good-looking tire. Mopar saying February 22nd. That's the date. I'm going to try to make that date. I really want to get there for that. Let's see. Aperture is saying, on a side note, you ever worry about your ring catching on something while you're working, or is that silicone? No, this is cobalt. When I'm working on something, that ring comes off for sure. Yeah, because this isn't the kind they can snip off. This is the kind where if they snip anything off, they snip your freaking finger off. Doug just saying, I think I'm going to check out for the night and get some got some eyelids I want to stare at. Good show. Have a great night. Good night to you too, brother. Hope everything is great. And I will be calling you in the morning. Destroyer saying the Tri-5s will last, but the Mickeys will hook. That is absolutely true on the drag strip. Riff saying, with a good tuner, does a 100 shot on a Hellcat have any chance of hurting the motor? Not a 100 shot, but it's going to take a good tune. And, you know, if you're providing for the nitrous, then the nitrous won't do anything to hurt the engine. The only thing I don't like about nitrous, and this is just kind of a bit of a beef with me and nitrous oxide. If you're not running direct port, the problem is intake manifold distribution. A lot of guys get this really wrong. I mean, really wrong. And they'll say, oh, well, my air fuel ratio was fine. You know, I don't understand why it freaking blew up. Okay, so when you have a naturally aspirated engine with nitrous oxide, you've got an intake manifold and a plenum. The nitrous oxide is going to come into the plenum on a plate kit or a throttle body kit. And when it hits the intake manifold, it then has to be distributed to different cylinders at that point, which can be a bit of a challenge. You know, so the back cylinders are getting, you know, this nitrous is coming straight through, going through, and because of the velocity of it, through the intake manifold, through the plenum, hitting the back of the intake manifold. You can imagine what this stuff looks like coming through. You've seen somebody, you know, fire off a nitrous bottle. Well, it's coming out of the nozzle just as fast. So there's a distribution question. You know, number 8 and number 7 might be getting a full shot of nitrous. Number 1 and number 2 may not be. And then there's the fuel distribution if you're on a wet shot. All of that. So you can compound that when you've got a supercharger, because with a positive displacement supercharger, you are spraying the nitrous through 2 screws that are spinning, compressing it, and then dumping that onto the cooling into the cylinder. Again, it's a distribution issue, and I love nitrous oxide, but I love nitrous oxide as a direct port solution to a power adder, not as just a small shot in general, if that makes any sense. Because it's really easy to have an air fuel ratio that looks rich, but you could still have some lean cylinders, and lean and nitrous oxide, they don't play good with the parts that cost lots of thousands of dollars. Let's see. J-Dub's asking, how fast have you went on a draggy on the street? I don't have a draggy, but I need to get one. But the car has shown, I think 1080s, 1090s on the street, the way that it sits. But I don't like really running the thing on the street like that because it just chews up my tires, and damn things are expensive. Rip's saying his warranty goes up in June. Let's see. Yeah, Mopar saying, don't jack with your fingers. Take those rings off. Losing pinches is no joke. So yeah, anytime you're working on anything, things to remember. Make sure if you got long hair, wear a lid. If you got rings, take that stuff off. Necklaces, take that stuff off when you're working on cars, man. Anything that can be hanging down, that can get wrapped into something is definitely not a good thing. You just never know what electrical connection could be off, right? So if nothing else, you don't want to get zapped. So yeah, if you guys are working on anything, always remember safety first when it comes to rings and necklaces and long hair and stuff hanging off of you. Make sure there's nothing there that's going to distract you from the job that you're looking to accomplish. Let's see. Rip's asking, how do they tune for nitrous? Like, how did it know to change the tune when the nitrous hits? Well, there's several different things that you can do. In some cases, you just detune the car, so to speak. Back in the day, you would just pull timing and command a richer air fuel ratio. But that's some back in the day shit. Typically, if I tune for nitrous, I'm tuning for a wet shot. And so the extra fuel is already in the tune, rather it's in the kit. And I'm just pulling timing based on the amount of nitrous that's going into the car. You will maybe, depending on the shot of nitrous, run a colder plug. So there's that to consider also. If the car is naturally aspirated, then you are going to want to run a little bit colder plug, go from like a TR6 to a TR7 on the NGK chart. That's pretty much what you're going to be doing when you're tuning for nitrous oxide. If the computer can sample wideband under wide open throttle and make adjustments under wide open throttle, and you've got enough injector, then you just basically have your commanded AFR, and when you fog it, it will sense, it'll see the O2s and it'll throw fuel at it. Not really the best way to go about doing that, though. That's 4 for the night. But again, you're going to want to run a wet shot with the kind of power levels that these cars have. You're going to want to run a wet shot either way. Ramrod's asking, would I be Mason? Is it a good idea to turn my 6.1 into a 426, and how much would it cost? Well, it depends on what you consider to be a good idea, but you will be throwing quite a bit of money at it. Now, you can get quite a bit of power out of it without throwing a 426 stroker in it, but how much will it cost? Need to have about $13,000 to $15,000 just sitting around you want to get rid of really quick if you want to put one of those engines in your car. Because I can tell you right now, it ain't cheap. It's going to cost you about that much to do, and you're going to really want to have a 426 because just for the sake of having one, because the performance gain, it's kind of there, but you're still intake manifold limited unless you go with the new Holley high ram. That's going to really push your RPM out though. And so you're going to want to have a combination that's going to be able to take advantage of that. So now we're talking gears, the cam to get the thing to spin to about 7,500 RPM. And now you're also talking about a converter at that point if it's an automatic. So lots of moving parts here, lots of things to consider coming into that. Let's see. Something saying, what up, Mopar King? What's up, man? Thinking about running a 20x10 front, 20x11 rear on my 392 Scat 17. Any clearance issues you may know of? Yes, you will run into some problems potentially with that 10-inch front. You're going to have to, I would probably say, you know what, though? I say that. I've seen a couple of them running around with that 10-inch front. The 11 for sure, you're going to be banging away on some inner fenders. So just know that coming into it. But let me see something here. Unless you got a charger, the Challengers have a little bit just that much smaller wheel well. But you get a little bit wider wheel on the back of a Charger. So let's see. But the 20x10, it's going to depend on the back spacing and the wheel itself. Mopar is saying, read your plugs with a wet setup. We add a couple of points to the rich side. Yeah, that's the next thing is if you're running nitrous, you're going to have to learn how to read plugs. That's just the way that's going to be for you, bro. Let's see. Our Grassi saying, can I or should I change out the factory thermostat on the Hellcat for maybe a 180? And will I need computer adjustments for fans, or just leave it alone for now? You can run a 180. That's not a problem. In traffic, you won't really see any benefit because the fans won't come on because the computer doesn't know that there's a 180-degree thermostat in it. So, yeah, you would, but on the freeway, you will see the temperature drop quite a bit. So the short answer to that is no, you don't have to have a tune to run a 180, but it certainly is necessary to take full advantage of it. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Rip's saying, yeah, I was going through the process having my 6.1 turned into a 426 and came out to about 21 grand, but that was everything in and a core charge. Yeah. So again, you're talking a lot of money to convert something. It's just so expensive on the Mopar side, man. You're always going to be looking at that Mopar tax. Sam's asking, did you know Ford's new 7.3 will fit into a Fox platform? Yes, it will fit into the Fox platform. Fits very nicely, as a matter of fact. It's hardly any bigger than a 351. Mopars is saying, Neuro Network can accommodate a wet shot and pull a bit of timing. Oh, and log everything. So the biggest thing that a lot of guys, and Mopars brings a really good point. The problem with nitrous oxide is that there are a lot of variables to it, and there's bottle pressure is a key variable here, but it's just as susceptible to atmospheric conditions. Even though nitrous oxide really is atmosphere in a bottle, you've got to stay on top of it. It's a secondary level of maintenance and upkeep that you're going to have to become involved in if you really want to run nitrous on your Hemi or any engine for that matter. So just know that coming into it. It's not like a boosted application where it's more set it and forget it type of a thing. Nitrous can be, it can kind of be like that. But oh, and here's the other thing. Make sure that you're changing your solenoids once a year. That's something that a lot of guys forget to do with their nitrous kits. Only to have a solenoid fail because it hasn't been used in a long time or because it's worn out or for whatever reason, it doesn't matter. But the solenoid's kind of your lifeline. If you have one stick closed, well, that means that you're feeding it either all fuel or all nitrous. Both of them can be catastrophic. You don't ever see them really hang open. There's no real way for it to stick open unless you have it armed and then kick it on. But they can leak. So I've seen nitrous solenoids leak. And when nitrous solenoids leak, they slowly fill an intake full of nitrous oxide. When you go to start said car with intake manifold full of said nitrous oxide, you get an explosion, the likes of which you've never seen. And that's not a good thing. So just again, some things to consider when you're looking at nitrous oxide. There's a lot of little things that add up, and it's one of the reasons why a lot of guys get scared of it. If it's treated with the level of, I guess you can call it respect, but if you just treat it with the amount of upkeep and care that you need to for a kit like that, then you'll be fine. But just some things to remember. Nitrous oxide, people say, oh, it's so much cheaper than Boost. It's cheaper until it isn't. And if it's cheaper, like super cheap, you're going about it the wrong way. That having a solid controller means the difference between that kit working flawlessly and seamlessly and one that's really more old school, just, armed and fire. Yeah, that's the other way you can do it. And that's where most guys would make a mistake and accidentally blow their stuff up. So, let's see. Rip's hanging out with Ramrod, actually saying, can you spray fuel and nitrous through the blower safely? Yeah, they do it all the time. In fact, the original use of nitrous oxide on the ME-109, that's how they did it. In fact, they had a tank on that airplane that was the size of a mother tank, basically. But yeah, you can spray fuel and nitrous through the blower just fine. The issue is distribution. And that's where the problem really lies more than anything else. And because there's no real plenum volume there, there's no real way to disperse the fuel and air mixed or fuel and nitrous mixture. And keep in mind that the fuel, although it is atomized when it comes out of the nozzle, it's going through a set of rotors that are spinning at about 15,000 RPM. Lots of nucleation sites. And so that thing it's not really going to be the atomized mist that you would hope to have on the back end of it, at least not on a microscopic level. And so, again, you get the distribution issues, lots of nucleation sites for that stuff to just stick to, and pull it out of suspension. You get just kind of a crappier distribution of fuel at that point. Nitrous oxide, it's a gas at that point. It typically finds where it needs to be, but it's really more the fuel than anything else, as well as the nitrous. But in this case, I'm thinking more about the fuel. So, Aperture is saying, purchased a 2012 Dodge Charger Pursuit. It has 120,000 miles. I checked the Carfax and noticed this entry: vehicle service, camshafts replaced, repaired. Hell yeah, you saw that on that car. Have I dodged a bullet due to an early repair? No. All of them have had the camshafts and lifters replaced in them. I know several DPS officers that have had those cars. They love them to drive, but no, every single one of the police pursuit cars will have had the camshaft replaced. A lot of it has to do with the fact that the car sit idling for so long, but I've heard every excuse or reason in the book. The fact of the matter is that all of the pursuits have had their camshaft swapped. It's one of the reasons why they're not using them moving forward. Mopar is saying you can assume you can't assuming everything in the setup and in the tune is set up correctly. It can also be harmful if mistimed specifically. Very much so. And also to that point, it's the cool thing about nitrous oxide is that it is carrying its own oxygen. That's what it's doing. You're introducing more oxygen to the setup. So the fuck is that? So because of that, timing is still going to be critical, but you don't have to worry so much about you don't need to overtime the engine or worry so much about timing. Pull some timing to make it safe. you'll be just fine. You'll be creating plenty of cylinder pressure with the nitrous oxide. Let's see. SRT8 Nate saying, yo, B, what's your opinion on the Aturo AZ850s? Freaking love those tires, man. For being something that will just simply get you from point A to point B, they are perfect. They cost half of what other tires cost. They lateral acceleration, lateral G load threshold on those tires actually is really good. They don't hook for shit in a straight line, but they're actually fairly decent tires all the way around. So, you know, for something just to get you around on the street, you're not really trying to do anything like racy type stuff. You just want it to look good, drive around fine, and do tire things. They're great. I got nothing bad to say about those tires. I've tested. In fact, I still have the AZ850s on these other wheels. Work great as dyno wheels, and I got nothing to complain about. So yeah, I think they're great tires. Let's see. Amateur saying that repair replacement was done at 38,000 miles. That's not at all uncommon, my friend. Alexander is saying, why did Dodge not design these cars to come with 11-inch wheels and 305s from the factory? Hopefully they do that with the next gen car. They didn't do it because Mercedes-Benz didn't do it when they developed the LX platform. Samuel Jackson, did SRT Mush get divorced because he ran his demon into a wall? I have no idea. I've not kept up with that fella, but bummer if he did get divorced. That sucks. Ethan Hack saying, what's the best cam you can get for a 14392? A buddy and I were trying to figure out what he should do with his car. He mainly roll races it. Also, best rear wheel numbers for a full bolt-on E85 392 and then a cam full bolt-on E85. Man, again, question that is going to take a lot to unpack. So, what's the best cam you can get for a 14392? Depends on what you're doing with it, bro. It can range anything from a stock cam to something wild. You know, I don't like really talking too much about best cam or what is this or that, because it's all going to be vehicle specific. But 14392, I have to assume that it's an automatic car, not a 6-speed. I would say, you know, again, give Dr. Dip a shout. He can square you up with a camshaft. Its Performance also has some good custom grind camshafts. But again, it's what are you planning on doing with the car? That's really what's gonna, and what is your definition of drivable too, by the way? What do you value in a driving experience? Do you like that real sharp throttle response that the stock cam gives you? That can be kind of tough to replicate, but it can be done. Or do you like something that just legs out on the big end? That can be done too, but then again, you're going to be up against a bit of a brick wall with that stock intake manifold. Even with one of my ports, there's only so much I can get out of those intake manifolds. So there's that to consider. You know, people say, oh, I want something that chops. Well, okay, maybe, but the problem is that if it's acting like that, then more than likely you're dealing with a cam that's not going to be able to get drug out, or it's going to want to get drug out to higher RPM, and the intake manifold doesn't allow for it. So you got to drag that down a little bit. Make it a solid performing cam under all conditions. It's a bit of a compromise, but those types of camshafts are a lot more fun to drive as a whole than something that's just going to drag the power out into an area that the supporting parts can't really support. Now then, so he mainly roll races it, and best rear wheel numbers for a full bolt-on E85 392. 450 horsepower to the rear wheels, 460-ish depending on the dyno is what I've seen, and that's on a car that was starting off life at around 405. So it just depends on who's putting the tune on it. That's another thing. And that's full bolt-on E85 car. That'd be my buddy Rob's car, as a matter of fact. And then a cam full bolt-on E85, add 40, 45 horsepower to that. So You're looking at a little bit over 500 on a Mustang dyno, maybe 485 on a Mustang dyno, depending on the cam that you're going with, and how much torque you're willing to lose down low to get to that number up top. That's just kind of the way that it goes. One other thing too is, just because it does make better power up top doesn't mean that it's better just for roll racing in general. That initial torque hit is what you're going to be relying on. And if you're trying to stretch that thing out too far with a cam that the intake manifold just doesn't get along well with, that's going to be a problem. So really, you're talking roll racing. How serious is your buddy about roll racing? I mean, is he just doing it for fun, just out goofing off, having, just something to do, just goofing off, having fun? Isn't put a cam in your car kind of territory. If he's really wanting to get out there, if he has a goal in mind, that's something that you got to talk to your buddy about. I mean, if you don't have a goal in mind, you're just going to be kind of wandering aimlessly out there. So I would say for sure, set your goals, decide on what you really are looking for. Do you want a number on a dyno? Do you want to get the car out there and, beat a C7 Stingray? Do you want to, what are you trying to do with the car? That'll really dictate what you're going to end up doing to the car. After's asking, is it true Dodge runs 520 on most Charger Challengers due to the Eco 4-cylinder mode needing a thinner oil? No, not at all. Because if that were the case, you wouldn't run 040 in the 6.4s. The lighter weight oil is more for fuel economy than anything else to help it reach CAFE standards. I would run 040 in any Hemi or any engine really for that matter. Alex is saying depends on what engine the car has. They recommend 040 for my 392. So he's already got me on that one. After is saying this would be for the 5.7, thought that was odd. Yeah, I've always thought that was kind of weird for the 5.7 to use that oil. Rip is asking, I've never heard of that. He's saying he's never heard of that. Sam Grove was saying, meth injection, is it a good idea to keep IATs down when working a motor hard, or would a lower temp stat be better with a larger radiator? So here's my thing with, I don't like meth injection at all, man. Not in the way that you might think. If it is a direct port meth injection, that's one thing, because you're eliminating the distribution issue. The thing you have to remember about meth injection is that there is no gas component to it. It is a liquid through and through, which means that now you're dealing with something that can come out of suspension, and you're relying on sheer volume and the hopes that the distribution is going to work out the way that you want it to, for cooling and extra octane, things like that. The big issue that I also have with meth injection is that guys tend to lean on meth injection to make up for octane deficiencies in the fuel that they're running. That's not a good idea. That's a terrible idea. I've actually been not party to this, but I've actually data logged and driven a vehicle that, were it not for meth injection, that vehicle would never be able to be driven at wide open throttle ever. And that's just not how you tune a car. Meth injection is a supporting mod, not a, puts like this. It's not the main course, bro. If you're relying on meth injection to cover you for your octane needs, you screwed up somewhere big time. Let me just say this. If it's me, I want to make sure I'm not getting too far out of here. First of all, yeah, you need to have a lower thermostat for sure. Larger radiator, probably not. Depends on what we're talking about. But meth injection, I don't really think that it's necessary. But again, it's going to depend, especially not for an NA car. If you got meth injection on an NA car, you just got talked into something. Mopar is saying, I'm out. Talk to you tomorrow. I'll be at the dealer with the demon. Gotcha, brother. Give you a holler mañana. Uncle Stink for checking in. What up, dude? It's been a while. Any word on what kind of blower the guy with the yellow 426 Charger is going to go to? If I were him, I'd be going to an F1, but that's just me. I don't know. I have no idea. Let's see. Argosy saying, "Hey, B, I'm heading off to bed." All right, man. I appreciate you hanging out with me. I hope that you end up with the winning kill score with your mosquitoes tonight. See ya. Yeah, man. So far, I think we're 4 or 5 deep into it with no missed shots. So I don't know. We're setting a record tonight with this. I like it. Joe's saying, "B Mace, hope you're doing well, brother. Hope you're doing well too, man, for sure." Mr. 76 Aspen saying, "Have you ever used Pro Data Plus software, and what do you think about it?" I don't. I haven't. I'm an HP Tuners or SCT user, so that's what I've been using. Let's see. Demonology, what's up, man? Saying, "What up, bro? We chopped the heads off of them snakes, man. I like it. Good job, my friend." We're just saying, "Oh, there goes our soul." Let's see. We're just asking, how do you get your screen in your car to read out the horsepower your car has now after modding it? Well, there's a lot of inferred data in there that will get you to that horsepower number. It's based off of the airflow number more than anything else. So as long as you're within that parameter, you're in good shape. As long as you don't have to adjust it, it'll read fairly accurately, as a matter of fact. And Sam saying, "I'm thinking more long-term lines of using the meth to keep my EGTs down. Would it work?" I wouldn't bother with it, man. I just don't like it. It ends up being used more as a crutch. And again, if we're talking about a system that you can't really control the distribution, then that's kind of, you're defeating the purpose, at least for a portion of your engine. And you could possibly be over flooding part of it. I missed that one. Part of the engine where the distribution is heavier. So Riff saying, "I asked because Demonology car actually says over 1,000 horsepower on the SRT screen." Yeah, it could. That car's making a lot of power. So yeah, basing everything off of airflow numbers, airflow and injector pulse width. Let's see. After saying, going back to your comment, 0W40, do you recommend it for harsh winters like in northern Colorado? I read zero is better for negative temps. Should I go with a high mileage version? You can go with a higher mileage version. Those oils are typically pretty good. Pennzoil's high mileage is actually a really good formula. But yeah, no, that oil is recommended for that car in all conditions. So yeah, 040, not a problem whatsoever. 030 in those conditions, probably still wouldn't recommend it. I like the 40 weight a little bit better. So I would go with that. Let's see. Sam's saying he pushed around 1,800 EGTs. Not sure if meth is going to help you too much there, buddy. If anything, it may make it worse to be running a significantly richer mixture. Sam Jack saying, "Is there going to be a Dodge Angel with the Elephant engine?" No, there will not be. Do not count on that at all. As a matter of fact, don't count on too much from Dodge anytime soon. Not just the Angel, but aside from the TRX, which is the Hellcat powered truck, which took you long enough, that did get green lit. I don't know why there's not a 2-wheel drive variant running around. That's the most ridiculous, stupidest thing I've heard ever, to not have a Hellcat truck. Shit, we got Hellcat everything else. I think there's a Hellcat Durango that's going to be dropped here pretty soon. So yeah, but no, there won't be an Angel or anything like that. And it looks like the Viper may be on hold as well. The new Viper anyway. So that is unfortunate. Rip is saying, where is the best place to put the weights on the 18-inch skinny front runner? You're going to have to do it on the back side. So, yeah, having a hard time having it fit with the brake caliper is impossible. Old school, hammer-on weights on the back side of the rim is where you're going to put them. Let's see. Arbitrator's going to the Durango line. Have you noticed they've been pumping out trims and front ends with no other real body changes for like, what, 9 years now? At least. Interiors look great. But yeah, there hasn't been any real change there. There hasn't been any real change in the Dodge lineup, save for maybe the pickup truck's facelift. The interiors have all gotten a really nice facelift, but the exteriors, not so much. I mean, there's some minor changes, but the big difference, or at least the most conspicuous change, is the lack of a change in actual engine options. So that's the one thing I've noticed, is that there's just not that much different about them, at least not much to speak about anyway. Let's see. Samuel's asking, why would they not put the Hellfin in anything from the dealer? Building suspense? Not really. So the Hellfin platform, look, it works great as a crate engine, but to get it to pass the NVH, the durability testing, CAFE, and every other acronym I'm sure that's out there, that's a bit of a pain in the ass, and I just don't think that they were willing to bring that engine to market. And I can understand why. I mean, it would be a pretty tall order to ask for that engine to make it through use, abuse, and misuse testing. I just don't really see that being the case with something that's making 1,000 horsepower running on 93 octane. I doubt very seriously that they thought that that would be a good idea. Now, why the Demon or the Red Eye at just about that power level is a good idea, don't know. But some of it, I think, has more to do with the block than anything else. I don't know why Dodge is allergic to aluminum blocks, but they tend to be. And until we can get a viable aluminum block, I mean, it'd save about 100 pounds off the car, so that would be kind of cool. Don't expect to see that setup going into anything anytime real soon, at least not in the guise that it's in now. You might see a 426, but I doubt that it's going to be pushing the kind of numbers that you've seen. I think it'd probably be more like around 900-ish if you ever did see it. And again, that's just from a use, misuse, and abuse durability NVH type of testing thing. Gino's saying, hey, B, 2020 Scat Pack with 1,500 miles, and she already has the tick. Should I be worrying about, or are you being paranoid? Take it to the dealership. You never know. You're never too paranoid with a car with that much warranty. So have them take a look at it. These things are mass produced. Have them take a look at it just to be on the safe side. On the Super saying, so a lot of time has passed since I have last seen one of your streams, and I am proud to say that my 2018 392 car is still stock minus lower control arms and a catch can. Still love it 100%. I like it. Yeah, they're all amazed how much fun they can be when they're not on a lift. The Aperture is saying, I hear conflicting info regarding the 11 to 14 body style and the 15 plus. Some say they're considered two different gens, but the dealer states no, 11 to 19 is all the same gen. No, they're really not. They are separate. They're like a half generation step up. So it depends on what we're talking about, but colloquially, or however you say the word, the 8-speed transmission is what differentiates the generations. So 15 plus would have its own generation, and then 08 to 14 leading up to it would be its generation. You've got some engine variants in there, the 6.1 morphing into the 6.4 around 2011. And then with the 6.4 getting the electric power steering, and the 8-speed, that kind of separated it from its older brother with the NAG 1, the 5-speed automatic. The look of it is different. The interior is completely different. Nothing about the 2015 interior has anything to do with the 14s. So that's why most guys will see them as the different generation. Now, if you're talking about body panels and things like that, they're basically the same. So you're not really going to get too far away from from body stuff, but with some minor changes, minor differences. But engine wise, not really that big of a difference. I mean, really, it's all basically the same when you're talking 392. The 5.7 though, when you're talking about the Apache 5.7 versus the Eagle, there's a vast difference. VVT is introduced, much better heads, variable runner intake manifolds. All of that is what would help to differentiate the previous gen from the new gen. So hopefully that helps. Let's see, and that includes Chargers and Challengers. And he's asking, would that be just a facelift in your opinion? No, that's a pretty significant number of changes that are going into that car. So I wouldn't really call it just a facelift. I mean, if you're calling that a facelift, that's like a major facelift. So it depends on what your definition of it is. Rick is asking, I heard that Hellcats all come with negative camber. Actually, all Challengers and Chargers do. I was told to get suspension upgrades so I can get the full tire contact. Is this true and needed? So one thing you got to remember is that you're never going to get a full contact patch with a independent rear suspension because it's independent and it's moving, but the way that they move isn't like this. They move in an arc. So anytime there's any squat, you're going to get a little bit of an arc. Now, the only way to get a full contact patch at launch is to actually run positive camber, which would look ridiculous and it wouldn't work very well for handling or anything like that. So yeah, don't worry so much about that. That's really not anything to concern yourself with. There's guys like me that are, running 148 60 foots with the stock suspension alignment. So don't worry too much about that. Just run the right tire and make sure your pressures are correct too. TU's in. What's up? TU saying, hey, yo, B, man, do you have any insight or have you heard anything about a Gen 6 Viper being in the works for late 2021, 22? Just was talking about that. So the problem with the Viper is that it looks like it got stalled. There was an initial plan to bring out a V8 powered Viper by the end of 2020 at one point. This is going back to like 2015, 2016, when they had already decided that they were going to basically kill off the V10 and come out with something that was going to be more economically viable in the marketplace. I mean, the Viper just isn't or wasn't the way that it sat. So that ended up getting pushed to 2021 and then possibly to 22. And then I heard that it stalled. So I don't know why that is. I don't know what's keeping that. But anyway, take that with a grain of salt. But I've heard that it had stalled and that we're not going to get that or the Viper / quote unquote, AKA CUDA, which could have been the new Halo car for Dodge. So we'll just have to wait and see what they're going to end up coming out with the new merger and everything else. Who knows what's going to end up happening? I don't know. All right. Let's see. Sam was asking for street use on the Hellcat. What's the widest and stickiest tire? Dare I say best tire and wheel combo to throw on the rear? What's the widest? 10-inch rim is going to be the best, 10 to 10 and a half. Stickiest tire, ET Street R if you want something actually sticky. If you want something that you're going to be running around on the street, just like a commuter tire, something that's going to be more stable on the highway speeds, cruise speeds, basically, cruising at like 75, 85 miles an hour. I still got to go with the Tri-5R, man. It's just such a good tire all the way around. It's not a good idea to bet against it. It's not a sure thing, but it's about as close to it as you can get. Now, the Mickey Thompson ET Street SS is a great tire, but you're up against two different things. One is going to be wearability. The tire just doesn't wear that well. Two, it's arguable if it's better on the street than the Nitto. If it is, it's just by a smaller amount, and it's more expensive. So they don't last as long. They're maybe a slightly better tire, but it's still kind of up in the air. It depends on conditions and a bunch of other things. I don't know. I still got to go with the Tri-5, man. I hate to say it, but I mean, not that I work for Nitto or anything, but I just really like those tires. Let's see. Sam's saying he's thinking about running meth on his diesel. Been talking to people that run it, and they say around a 250-degree drop in EGT. I say go for it then. Late run 14. Sam saying I'm seeing late run 14 cars run the 8-speed. Depends on what the door tag says, but this is a 14 by that definition because my car was born in November of 2014, and it's got an 8-speed. But it's not a 2014 titled car. It's still a 15. There's a breakover point. Let's see. Rip is saying he likes the Mickey Thompson ET Street SS's. They're great tires. I agree. They are sticky. Good tire. Upture saying, what is your take on mods like Pedal Commander? Love Pedal Commanders. If I understand correctly, all it does is output a stronger signal to the throttle for a faster response. Snake oil worth $250. Man, I'll tell you this. I've installed pedal commanders on BMWs and Mercedes and Range Rovers, stuff like that. They are awesome. I love what they do. They give basically, I would say they give about 70% of just the feel of a tune in regular commuter driving around type situations. The neat thing about Pedal Commander is you can shut them up if you want to. You can put it into eco mode if you want to. You can make it as aggressive as you like. And I like that adjustability. You can kind of adjust the personality of the car with that. And you don't have to have a tune. You don't have to unlock the computer, and there is no warranty issue involved with it, provided you just remove it before you take the car in for warranty work. All it's doing is and you're exactly right, it's just adjusting the throttle sensitivity, so to speak, but it's just adjusting the throttle arc. So X number of voltage yields a specific arc that throttle body is going to open. Again, I love them. So I think it's cool. If you don't want to get your car tuned, number one. Number two, you're worried about warranty issues. You want to pep the thing up a little bit. A lot of the modern cars have very soft pedal programs to begin with. Or if at least you feel like yours does, Pedal Commander will absolutely solve that problem. So something to consider. White Knuckle RT saying, what up, B? Did you catch Demonology killing Staying Mode's buddies modded GT500 in the stock Demon and the tire? Those GT500s look real slow out of the hole. Not a fan. Are the dual clutch trains is tunable? I did catch Demonology putting a hurting on the, cutting the heads off the snake, so to speak. Is that transmission tunable? It will be as soon as the protocol is hacked. One thing I will say, though, is that I don't know if tuning that transmission is going to do you a whole lot of good if it just breaks. So cooks a clutch. I don't know if it's a good idea to pull, or to add temperature to the clutches to get them out of clutch over temp mode. These are all things that are going to have to be sorted out later on. And when it comes to DCT type transmission, guys, I got to tell you, they're very efficient in terms of putting power to the ground as far as a parasitic loss standpoint. They're great as far as that goes. They are fantastic as far as being able to go through the gears. They're amazing at that. But there's no free lunch here, guys. And the issue is the clutch actuation at launch. How much can the clutches actually hold? What kind of load can they hold? These are the things, how much slip can they hold? All of that is determined by the torque and by the weight of the vehicle that they're basically bolted to. It's one of the reasons why Lambos and the new Vet and pretty much anything high winding can really take advantage of those things. Not a lot of torque. You can play with more slip. A lighter weight car, you can actually make a case for the DTC to be a better transmission there. But for something that weighs 4,300 pounds, basically, the car is not really much different in weight than my car. My car with me in it's 4,440 the way it sits right now. And I think it's, like 4,500 pounds in street trim. That car is, again, it's not that far off in terms of weight. And so when you start to look at it from that point of view, it's the proposition doesn't look too well for the DTC. It's still strange to me that they went with that transmission and didn't go with a torque converter style transmission. I mean, it's got one sitting right there in the 10-speed auto, and there's plenty of guys that are beefing those things up with the GTs and running, deep into the 9s with that transmission. There's no reason why they couldn't run it with the GT500. Oh, wait a minute, journalists. I forgot about that. Anyway, sorry, lost my train of thought. So yeah, to answer your question, is it tunable? If it's not tunable now, at the time of this video, which is February 2020, it will be soon. And look at the Volkswagens have DTC. There's different ways you can tune those transmissions, at least with launch RPM, things like that. But man, I got to tell you, my biggest concern, biggest fear was the durability and the ability of that transmission to handle launches and to handle load at that weight. And it's going to be tough. It's going to be real tough. Let's see. Uncle Secret saying the Nitto is the way to go. Ripped is saying, I got my Mickey Thompson ET Street SS rear 6 months ago, and they're already bald, which is why I just ordered the Tri-5 for sure. I've lived that one. Let's see. Sam saying, someone with a 14 pre-facelift RT with an 8-speed. Might be possible in the 5.7, but not with a 392. Not that I'm aware of anyway. Never saw one. It'd be a rare car, if anything. You say he's thinking May or June build date. It is possible. Aperture saying, I did a mid-muffler delete on my Charger. I feel like my butt dyno is telling me I lost torque. Why is this? Is it really the case I left the rezos on? No, I don't think you've lost anything. I think it's just louder. I don't really think that you lost anything whatsoever. At least I've never seen one on the dyno lose anything by doing a reso or a mid-muffler delete. So there's at least that. But I think that may be part of a placebo effect, because a lot of guys have done it. A lot of guys have said they felt like it lost torque. And you got to remember, your muffler on anything with a 392, your muffler is still straight through. I mean, there's no chambers or anything like that. So the only way you would have lost anything is if whoever did your mid-muffler delete did a terrible job welding everything together, and you got just a big bunch of boiled bead on the inside of that pipe, which I doubt very seriously is the case. But again, just my observation. Haven't seen any changes on the dyno or at the drag strip. See, Black Hat 62 saying, hey, I had a question before I order up. I got a Hellcat Challenger with a mid-muffler delete and was looking for a louder, more toned exhaust. So I ran across the 3-inch Borla Attack without valves. What do you think of the Borla Attack without valves? I think that they're big. They sound good, but you may run into issues if you ever decide to put a different drive shaft in the car. So just know that coming into the conversation. They sound good. Just be wary of them. Jebediah is saying, I take the HP90 all day over a touchy DCC, especially the Mustang being a boat. Well, there is that to consider for sure. And number two, it's not like ZF doesn't sell that transmission to freaking everybody. Look, if you can't beat them, join them, Ford. And look, this is a situation where Yeah, the ZF is one of the most highly touted and praised transmissions out there from a point of view of it being just a regular transmission. If I would have been Ford, I'd have said, look, ZF, I need an HP 90 to fit in my Mustang. How do I do that? And just gone that direction. I mean, I know it's not the sexy, go around a closed circuit track type of a setup, but dude, look at what you're talking about, man. It's a freaking GT500 for crying out loud. If you want something that's a closed circuit monster, I mean, you got the GT350, GT350R, man. I don't know. I'm so partially disappointed with the GT500 when it comes to that. But anyway, let's see. Coming up on 2 hours, guys. So I'm going to be wrapping it up here pretty soon. Uncle Sigler saying, stock 392 cars, why do you say when they are not on the lift? Well, what I'm saying is if you're doing a lot of work to a 392 and you're trying to make it faster, the amount of money that you're going to be spending on that 392 and the fact that it's going to be sitting on a lift, or in other words, at the shop up in the air, that's what I'm talking about. They're a lot of fun when they're not on a lift. So if you're not trying to make them faster and you're enjoying them for what they are, they're a riot. You start throwing a ton of money at them. Depends on why you're doing it. Everybody's got their own reasons, but you just have to be careful because the gains that you get based on the supporting hardware that you have are not going to be as great. You don't have the opportunity to throw the different types of intake manifolds at them and have the fact that the car is heavy, have a setup that will actually get you some solid numbers. Those things are hard to come by. Let's just put it to you that way. So hopefully that answers the question. Let's see. Ken saying it's countless mods on my red eye seem to have slowed it down a tad with no tune. Loud as hell, changing them back. Yes, put your stock cats back on. It will absolutely run better. Let's see. Ripped is saying he did a mid-muffler delete on a 6.1 and it did feel like it lost power. It could have in that case. Might have lost some velocity. Let's see. The Wolf saying the ZF shifts very rough on my Hellcat, even in street mode, versus the ZF in his 2020 BMW. They're designed to be a little bit more positive shifting than the Euro spec, but it's all the same internally. It's just in the tuning. White Knuckle saying, hey B, the guy with the 426 Pikes Hiller Charger with the Pro Charger, I believe it has one of your cams in it. It does. What kind of time do you think that thing can run with a good driver? I don't know, man. It's going to be tough to say. It's tough to say because there's no weight reduction. There's a lot of the things that are going on with that car that I can't really comment about because I just don't know, But it's making 700 horsepower to the rear wheels, so that's going to be motivation enough for that car to definitely be in the 10s. I would say 1080s with a real solid mile an hour, probably 1080 at like 133 and a half, 134 and a half, something like that. Somewhere in that range. And that's just going based off of weight. Let's see. Aperture saying, I wish I had the 8-speed trans in mind. The 5-speed seems to want to downshift hard every once in a while. They definitely do that. I don't know. I kind of like the 5-speeds though. And Uncle Seeker saying, I got you. That's why I have left mine stock. That was the point I was trying to make. Absolutely. No, that's the thing. I mean, you guys know my story, the cars that I miss from working at the shop. And one of them was a 2014 bone stock Challenger with a 6-speed manual. Don't ask me why, but for some reason that car and I just got together and just got along great. After saying thanks for all your advice, when's your next live session? Probably maybe I might do a track chat if I go to the drag strip this Friday, a real quick track chat, and I may do a live show on Saturday, but we will see. It's going to depend on how this weekend goes. So, but anyway, guys, I got to wrap it up. We are over 2 hours into the show. Y'all have a fantastic rest of your week, and I am looking forward to seeing y'all on the next one. That's a wrap. Adios.